Get your pencils and your paper ready because the countdown is about to begin. 10, 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone, my name is Katie Thistleton and this is Puffin Virtually Live. And guess what? You're watching with thousands of schools around the world. To begin with, I want all of you to have a little bit of a think about your favourite books. Let me ask you a question. Do they have pictures in them? They probably do. Some of my favourite books are full of pictures. Well, today, some of the very best illustrators are going to be beaming into your classroom to share their drawing secrets with you. In about 30 minutes' time, I can promise that each and every one of you will have invented a superhero and have at least one awesome idea for a story. How cool is that? So let's get started, shall we? You're going to need your pencils and your paper throughout the show, so make sure you've got them at the ready. First, let's warm up your drawing muscles and your imaginations. You can join in your classrooms too, and remember, this is about putting pencil to paper. Your drawings don't have to be perfect, just give it a go.
Who likes drawing? Right, who wants to draw a fruit bowl? Chop chop, Sonny.
Pickle. Don't dare call me Sonny.
I've seen my brother steal fruit bowls.
Nobody ever called me Sonny.
Finished. Finished.
I'm trying to make a fruit bowl blindfolded. Do you want a banana, a bowl, and an apple?
I can't see.
I'm trying to feel like this is the green.
What's that?
It's supposed to be orange.
Oh
my god!
Wait, I got most of the colours correct.
Bye. See you later.
Oh, nice work, everyone. You can open your eyes now if you were drawing your fruit bowl with your eyes shut. How are your pictures looking? Have we got some good fruit bowls out there? Now, don't forget, teachers, you can send in your school shout-outs by tweeting @PuffinBooks and using the hashtag Illustrators Takeover, and then you could get a shout-out on this very screen. How cool would that be? Now, I promised you that we were going to learn all about creating characters, so to help us, please welcome our first special guest, the incredibly talented illustrator, Adam Hargreaves.
Hello,
Hi,
Katie.
Adam, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good, it's really nice to see you here. Now, lots of you may not know that Adam, his father actually created the Mr. Men books, your father Roger, and the Little Miss series as well. And now you followed in his footsteps, and these days you actually illustrate and write the books, don't you? But I believe that way back when you were a child, you were actually his inspiration for the Mr. Men and Little Miss series.
Yes, it was a long time ago when I was very little.
I wasn't implying that.
But it's very true. Now, I asked my dad one of those impossible questions that small children like to pose to their parents. And my impossible question was, what does a tickle look like? And my dad actually had an answer and came up with Mr. Tickle. And then he suddenly realised that if he could personify a tickle, he could turn a happy or a nosy or a bump into a character. And then he realised he could write stories on them, and suddenly he had a whole series of books.
Wow, that's incredible. Just from that one question,
Yeah.
the Mr. Men and Little Miss books were created.
Yeah.
And you're right, that is an impossible question, but I feel like I know what a tickle looks like thanks to Mr. Tickle. I wouldn't know that otherwise. It is a very hard question indeed. Now, Mr. Tickle seems like he might be quite complicated to draw, but I'm interested to know which is the most difficult Mr. Man or Little Miss character?
Well, surprisingly, it's Mr. Happy, who is the simplest of all the characters, but because it's a sort of a almost continuous circle all the way round, I find him the most difficult, or certainly did when I started, because it's more difficult to draw a circle than it is to draw a square. So Mr. Strong is somewhat easier than Mr. Happy.
Can you use a sneaky little compass, or do you have to do it?
Yeah, I've been tempted, I have to admit, but I had to do it properly.
Well, there you go. Sometimes the most simple drawings are the most difficult ones. And we can see an excellent series of books here. These are the Doctor Men. So tell us a little bit about these.
That's right. This is a new series that I started about a year ago, which is a mash-up between Mr. Men and Doctor Who. Not the most obvious of combinations of characters, but two sort of iconic British characters that we've put together. So I've taken Doctor Who stories and then injected a bit of Mr. Men humour into them.
That's brilliant. What an excellent meeting of minds. Doctor Who and Mr. Men, fantastic stuff. Well, Adam is going to be showing us how to draw one of the Doctor Men a little bit later on. So who's it going to be? Have a little think. Before that, though, hands up if you know the name of the author and illustrator of Diary of a Wimpy Kid. They're very popular books. Pretty sure I heard somebody say Jeff Kinney in Bow Hill Primary School there. Well, you are correct. It is Jeff Kinney. And did you know that Jeff uses 250 illustrations in every book? Amazing, isn't it? Here's the man himself with some top cartooning tips.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeff Kinney, the author of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, and today I'm going to be talking to you about bringing your characters to life. I loved cartoons and comics as a kid. I especially loved Peanuts, Calvin and Hobbes, and Big Nate. And what I really learned from drawing as a middle schooler for the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books is that cartooning is all about simplicity. In fact, I try to use as few lines as possible when I'm doing the illustrations for my books. I'll give you a demonstration of how changing just a few lines can really change the way the characters look. So I'll start by drawing Greg Heffley's head. And now I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to copy this 4 times. So I wanted to show you how easy it is to change the way that Greg looks like he's feeling. So first of all, I'll start with a frown. You might notice that Greg is frowning on almost all of the covers of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. So here, we'll make him happy. And here I'm going to go with an open mouth look. So this is an open mouth look. And we'll return to it in a second. Here also, I'll draw an open mouth look. So now we've got 4 expressions, but I'm going to add to this. So here, Greg has his mouth open. You can see his tongue. And here we're going to see Greg's gritted teeth. So you can see with just a few lines, I've really changed Greg's expressions. Now, to add to this, right here we look at this picture of Greg and we say, Greg is sad. You know, he looks sad. But if I add this one line right here, a tongue, I think you would say that Greg is concentrating. And maybe I'll add a little line under his eye. And now Greg looks like he's really concentrating, but he's also a little bit tired. Here, if I add a tongue to this smiley face, now I think we would say that Greg is actually hungry. So a totally different expression by just adding a tongue. And here Greg looks like his mouth is open. We're not really sure what he's doing, so I'm going to add 3 lines here. And now I think Greg is talking. If I add an angry line right here, I think Greg is shouting. And down here, I'm not sure what this expression is exactly, so I'm going to add big eyes, big eyeballs, and then big pupils. And I think here, Greg looks like he's scared. So if I draw these lines right here, now that really sells it. Now you really know that Greg is scared. So you can see, you just add a few lines to these characters or subtract a few lines and the character looks really, really different. My tip for becoming an illustrator is to copy the drawings of your favorite illustrators. When you copy someone else's style, it helps you to figure out how they did what they did. And that helps give you tools to develop your own style. I hope that one day you'll be successful as an artist and will be sharing space on the bookshelves.
Isn't that brilliant how just changing a few lines can really help your character express themselves? Now, Adam, on that note, how do you show what your characters are feeling?
Well, for the Mr. Men, I mean, each of them just has one personality, so that simplifies it somewhat. But it's really colour and shape, I think, that determine how you get that characteristic across. I mean, Mr. Happy is round and yellow like the sun, so he's happy. And Mr. Grumpy is square and blue, the square with the sharp edges, and the blue colour is the blue of his personality.
Yeah, it's definitely clear how they're feeling.
Absolutely.
Now, before we start creating our own characters, Jeff said that we should copy other illustrators. So with that in mind, Adam, I hope you don't mind if we help you out now and all have a little go in our classrooms and try and draw one of the Doctor Men. In fact, I've got a Dr. 12 here, so I believe this is who you're going to be drawing. Why this Doctor in particular?
That's right. I'm going to draw Dr. 12 because he's the current Doctor Who, and hopefully you will all recognise him once I've drawn him. This is something that I've found quite different about this series as opposed to the Mr. Men, because when I'm creating a new Mr. Men character, I can come up with what I want to draw. But with the Doctor Who series, I had to draw characters that actually looked like the actors who play the Doctor Who's. So it was something more of a challenge for my drawing abilities, I have to say.
Did you have to study it much? Did you have to watch some Doctor Who or have a look at lots of pictures of them?
Yes, I did a lot of watching Doctor Who and an awful lot of Googling as well, because there's so many different elements to Doctor Who. I have to admit I knew the old series, but I had not caught up with the new series. So
it's not the worst research in the world, is it, to have to watch loads of Doctor Who?
Yes, I have to say it's been rather fun.
See, I can see that now. It's starting to look like Peter Capaldi.
Yeah. So trying to sort of get a caricature of a real person, but in a Mr. Men form, meant that I had to try and find characteristics that were really obvious within the actual actor's face. So a lot of it was based upon noses and hair, although some of them are a bit more easy because they've got hats and scarves and things like that. So it's they were the simpler ones.
Definitely. Well, how are you getting on in your classrooms? How are your doctors looking? Hopefully you've got that nose there and you've got that hair. And don't forget you can tweet us your pictures as well. I hope Peter Capaldi won't be offended by the pointy nose.
So do I. I've often wondered what all the different actors think of my caricatures of them, but hopefully they will like them.
I think this looks quite difficult. I don't know how you're getting on in your classrooms, but I think I would struggle with this. It's the hair looks quite complicated.
Yeah, I think he's got the most complicated hair of any Mr. Man or Doctor Who character. Now the interesting thing here is he sort of just looks a bit glum.
He does.
Actually, as a personality, this Doctor Who is quite stern, and it's amazing. Just with a simple line like that, you can change his expression.
Yeah, he does look stern now. He looked a little bit troubled before, but now he just looks a bit cross.
So that's a kind of a little tip. It's in terms of using eye lines, it can change their expression instantly.
That is amazing. Well, that's like what Jeff was saying in the VT that we just watched. Just putting something simple like an eyebrow or a mouth completely changes how they're feeling, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and you can use these little lines to make it look like they're moving and give them a bit more life. So there's Dr. 12.
That is excellent. So let's have a closer look, shall we? There is Adam's illustration. How brilliant is that? Fantastic. How are your pictures looking in your classrooms? Have we got some Time Lords over at Paddington Academy, or maybe over in the USA at Ekstrand Elementary? Don't forget you can tweet us, you can send us your pictures, just use the hashtag Illustrators Takeover. Now we've warmed up our doodling digits and we've learned from the masters, but now it's time to start thinking about creating our own characters. Some of you, I think, might recognise our next star. It's author and pro gamer Alek to help you transform into a superhero.
Hey guys, it's me, Alek here, and I am going to talk to you guys about changing and saving the world as superheroes. In my brand new book, some of you guys may have seen it, Alek's Adventures Game On, I find these special crystals that transform me from just an ordinary gamer like I am right now into an epic superhero called the Liberator. If that could happen in real life, it'd be absolutely amazing. I work closely with an artist called Alek who illustrated my book, so if you're not a big drawer, you can always pair up with a friend who loves to draw and they can help bring your ideas to life. Now guys, if you're wanting to transform yourself into a superhero in one of your stories, you've got to think of 3 main things. Your name, obviously, the costume and superpower of your superhero, and the problem. So first off, your name, and this could arguably be one of those trickiest bits. You've got to spend a lot of time thinking about it. You want something that is powerful and exciting, but also relates back to the superpower. And I've got a cool trick for you guys finding out your own superhero name, so wait until the end of the video to find out more about that. Next up, your costumes and your superpowers. What color do you want your costume to be? For me, it was easy. Blue, my favorite color. Allier blue, obviously. Do you want it to reflect your personality or your style? How about superpowers? Which special abilities do you want your hero to have? For example, my awesome suit gets upgraded throughout the book, getting bigger, better, more awesome. I get a laser axe and even a cool rocket board that lets me fly, so get creative. Lastly, you've got to think about your big problem. You don't need a superhero if there isn't a super bad problem to take on, so you've got to think carefully about this. What's wrong in your story? What problems you need to solve? In my book, for example, video games start to come to real life, which sounds great, except it doesn't really go to plan, and I've got to defend these helpless alien race called the Thralls, who are being captured by the evil robotic Tyrantors. So that was my main problem, and a pretty big problem as well, and that was the whole story. The whole book's about me trying to save the day. It can be anything that matters to you, from saving the world from a giant fireball that's coming down and about to destroy the earth, or even saving endangered animals and helping out the environment. That could be an awesome one as well. Think about the things that matter to you, and that can be your problem. Now, if you're having trouble coming up with your own superhero name, I've got a little bit of some helping out. I told you guys this. Wait until the end of the video. I can help you guys make something awesome. First off, guys, find a letter that matches your first name, your initial. So if you found that yet, do a little bit of searching. Nice, you got that. Now find a word that matches your last name, initial. So, for example, mine would be Alistair A, Ali A, so I'd be AA. So once you find those, put the words together and you should have your very own superhero name, guys. So now that you've got your superhero name, you've thought about your powers, and you've got a big problem that you want to change, go ahead, save the world, and good luck.
Flame Thunder here, reporting for duty, and just arrived on set is Agent Missile, or Nadia Shireen, as she's more commonly known. How are you, Nadia?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Well, I'm very pleased that you've joined us here today, because I know that you, like Adam, write and illustrate all of your own books. In fact, I've got one of your brilliant books here. So can you tell us a little bit about your stories?
Yeah, I mean, most of my picture books are about animals getting in really silly situations. The BumbleBear is a prime example. It's about a bear called Norman who really, really loves honey, and in order to get more honey, he decides to dress up as a giant bee.
Why not? It's a good idea. What could possibly go wrong?
Quite a lot, as it turns out.
It is a really brilliant book. It really made me laugh when I first read it. And it's also just so adorable. I mean, what cute illustrations. BumbleBear is very, very cute indeed. Now, you've been sending in your questions, and I've got a question from Todd.
What do you struggle drawing?
Well, I find horses really difficult to draw, and I also find cars very difficult to draw. So if there was a story about maybe a horse driving a car, that would be my worst nightmare.
We won't have the Formula One driving horse book coming
from me.
Nadia anytime soon.
No.
I've heard that horses are quite difficult to draw, actually. Illustrators always say that, so you're not on your own. Your books are also so very colourful. So what do you draw with, and how do you get to this stage where it's looking like a proper book?
Oh, well, I mean, to be honest, it all starts out very simply with just, you know, in a sketchbook like this. I just do pencil drawings and play around, draw characters over and over and over again, and then I gradually start experimenting with colour. I use paints, I use pencils, I use all sorts really. And then the next stage is I scan some of these images into my computer and kind of mess about with them in there. So I use all sorts.
Wow, that's amazing. I love how flicking through that book there, you can just see BumbleBear coming to life, getting gradually more and more colourful. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Nadia. Well, right now we're going to find out how some more illustrators create their masterpieces. And some of these might just surprise you a little bit. Now watch carefully, because after the video I am going to ask you some questions, and I want to know, what did Eric Carle create the Very Hungry Caterpillar with, and what was the picture book We Are All Wonders drawn on? Take a look.
My name is RJ Palacio, and I am the author of Wonder and We're All Wonders. I did all the art for We're All Wonders on an iPad from beginning to end. The way I did that was I would sketch the line art and then sort of perfect it. And the wonderful thing about working with an iPad is that you can do everything in layers. So on one layer, you're actually drawing your line art. And then when you're done on the iPad, when you want to put color on it, you put it on a different layer. So that's so great because then you can change your mind about things. You can, you know, just try out different things. If you don't like this color, you try on a different color.
How cool is that? So, were you watching? How does Eric Carle create this guy who we know very well, the very hungry caterpillar? Were you watching Chadvale Primary? Shout out the answer. That's right, by collaging coloured paper. How cool is that? And the observant among you might have spotted that We're All Wonders was actually drawn on an iPad. That's right. So maybe whilst you're at school with your teachers or when you get home from school, you could practice doing some colour collaging, or maybe you want to use your computer to bring your superhero to life. Now, we've seen how to create characters, but how do we actually make something happen with our character in a story? Luckily, Nadia is here to help with that. Over to you, Nadia.
Well, I mean, there are loads of ways to make action happen in your story, but I'm going to show you one trick, which is all about opposites. So I'm going to draw a character here called Rolf, who is in one of my books. And he is, as you will hopefully be able to see, a very sweet, cute little wolf.
Very cute.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy. So when I doodled Rolf, I thought, well, how can I make something happen for Rolf? What's the opposite of a good little wolf?
Oh, a big scary wolf?
Well, there we go. Immediately, I thought, what happens if we pitch this good little wolf against maybe a slightly bigger, badder wolf? And you see, once you start introducing new characters into your story, well, you can, all sorts of things start happening. So I'm going to do some big teeth here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He looks a bit hungry, this guy.
But you can see that just by introducing another character to maybe challenge your first superhero character, it's an easy trick to get your story up and running.
That is a really good idea. So what we had was one character, but now we've got all kinds of story ideas.
Well, exactly.
We've got a bit of conflict.
Yeah, bit of tension.
Excellent, thank you very much, and very brilliant drawings, by the way. Oh, so cute, so cute. Well, there you go. In case you're looking for some more inspiration for your character's story, here is the legendary Quentin Blake, who has illustrated all of Roald Dahl's children's books.
Welcome, I'm Quentin Blake. I've illustrated all Roald Dahl's books. Inspiration isn't a thing you start with. You don't think I'm inspired. You involve yourself in that story or that situation. And inspiration, if you have it, is something that arrives while you're doing it, I think, as you get further into it. It's by actually sort of living what's going on in that story that so that it feels almost like acting it in a way.
How amazing was that? Quentin Blake himself. It doesn't get much bigger than that in the illustrating world. What an absolute legend. Thank you very much. Now we've got time for some of your questions for Nadia and Adam, and we're going to do it by throwing some colourful balls into the studio. So let's see if I can actually catch one. Oh, so close, but yes, so far. This is from Year 5 at Probus School, and they want to know, did anyone tell you to give up, Nadia, and what was your response, if so?
Oh, I mean, no one was horrible enough to tell me outright to give up, but I think lots of people just thought I should probably get a proper job. So I did try and get a proper job, but I just kept drawing at the same time, so I ignored them. That's my answer.
Yeah, that happens to me as well, but don't get a proper job. Do a fun job instead. Ignore them. I'm just going to throw this in your direction and then try and catch another one. Oh, higher this time. Yes, I caught it. That didn't happen at all in the rehearsals. It's from Miss Blakemore's class at Newlands Primary School, and they want to know, which Mr. Men character do you most resemble?
That's an easy one. I have the very worst memory in the world, and I'm the original Mr. Forgetful.
Oh, was that based on you?
Well, I think it must have been, because I've certainly followed suit all my life.
That's lovely. It's a very good character, though. And we have also got a question from the Kids Know Best team. In fact, they've got a bit of a challenge for you both.
What's the fastest way to draw a dog?
Well, as if by magic, 2 easels have just appeared in the studio so that we can actually find out who can draw a dog the quickest. So it's time for Nadia and Adam to go nib to nib in what we like to call the doggy doodle dash. So who do you think is going to be the fastest at drawing a dog? Don't start yet, guys. I want you to shout out, okay? Do you think it's going to be Nadia in the red corner? Or do you think it's going to be Adam in the blue corner? Oh, I'm not sure what people are saying, but let's find out, shall we? In 3, 2, 1, draw your dogs! Okay, oh, it's looking good on this side. Can't really see Nadia's side. Shall I go around and have a little look? Okay, oh, it's looking good, it's looking cute. It's looking cute. Oh, a bit of progress happened over here. This is very exciting. This is definitely faster than I can draw a dog anyway, and much better than I would be able to draw a dog. Okay, shout out when you're finished.
I'm done.
Bingo!
Oh, no.
She's finished. I can't believe it. Nadia, you have won. Shall we have a little look at your picture then? Let's hold it up. That is beautiful. What a cute dog. That is very cute. So you drew the fastest dog, Nadia. I'll pass that to you.
Thank you.
And let's go and look at Adam's, because I'm sure it's brilliant. Ah, you might have done it slightly slower, but that is a gorgeous dog, Adam.
Oh, I'm obviously Mr. Slow as well as Mr. Forgetful.
It's very, very cute. Oh, aren't they brilliant? They're fantastic. Now, our next video guest is incredibly important. She was the youngest ever person to get a Nobel Peace Prize, and she's campaigned fantastically for girls' education. So please welcome into your classrooms the incredible Malala.
My book, Malala's Magic Pencil, is about my story. When I was growing up, I believed in this magic pencil, and then it tells how I found the magic in my voice. When I was younger, I used to watch a TV show about a boy who had a magic pencil. If he was hungry, he drew a bowl of curry and it appeared. If he and his friends were in danger, he drew a police officer. The boy was a little hero, always protecting people who needed help. How I wanted a magic pencil too. Every night before I went to bed, I wished for a magic pencil of my own. And every morning I would wake up and check my cupboard. But the magic pencil was never there. Wishing wasn't enough. Someone needed to speak out. Why not me?
One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world.
I tell my story because I want more people to read it. There is a lot of serious things and bad things that has happened in my life, from the attack to all these extremists that I have seen in my life. So I wanted to find a way in which would make it comfortable for younger children to read it. So I think picture book was the best option. I like each and every page, like seeing myself sitting in that room with my brothers watching TV and seeing those cracks on the wall. Then seeing myself and how my voice was reaching globally to people, and then how I was recovering from the attack. It just tells my story so beautifully that I had never thought of it before. So I'm really thankful to the artists, Keras Kuwait, for their great work. And I hope it reaches as many children as possible. I hope that children who would read this book will also realize that they can also find their magic, and it might be in their voice, it might be in their writing, it might be in their art. I'm so happy to have my book published in countries all over the world. Thank you for reading my story in the UK.
What a phenomenal young woman. Malala is still only 20 years old. So all of you watching in your classrooms, I've got a question for you now. What would you change about the world if you had a magic pencil? To get you thinking, we took to Instagram and asked some sensational artists that very question. Here's what they said they'd do.
My name is Ariba. I'm 20 years old and I make digital illustrations. Hello, I am Nurun Nahar from Thatta, Pakistan, and I like making art journal spreads and writing poetry. Way to express your emotions and opinions. So if there is something you want to tell the world but you do not want to use your words, you can just draw it on a paper and show everybody. I think art can change the world because when we are given a medium, let it be painting or writing or any other form, it gives us the power to make a difference. Malala's magic pencil made me feel super proud of her. As a Pakistani woman myself, I cannot wait to see more of her adventures. Malala is such an inspiring person because she's working for a noble cause, education. I would make more boxing clubs for women in my country, so that they can learn about the sport and we will get more women boxers. I would eliminate racism from our world because when there's discrimination based on the way you look or the place you come from, it's very disheartening.
So there you go. When you come to illustrate your superhero story, think about what they could change in the world. They are superheroes after all. That's all we've got time for today, but don't forget you can watch all of our shows again on demand and make sure you save the dates for next February's Spring Puffin Virtually Live, when extraordinary authors and illustrators will be back in the studio. Thank you very much to my guests today, Adam and Nadia. Until next year, goodbye and good luck with your stories.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.
If Laura had a superpower, what would it be?
Cheeky power. We're identical. And we're famous.
I'm calling it Frumpy Hugo Man. He's gonna look like you when you're older.
Superman looks like he's gonna have a block head. I'm doing your hair nice and curly.
He can ride a surfboard, so it could be Hugo the Frumpy Surfer, yeah?
The superpower is shooting out poos from her fingers.
Yeah!
Girls or boys better being superheroes?
Girls.
Why?
No idea.
Yep, she is. Poopy doopy girl.
You're not better than me.
No?
I'm doing my own dinosaur. He has super speed and telekinesis.
Jessica, what would you call your superhero?
Meanie poo. Why laughing at me?
I think they're laughing at me.
Do you have brown eyes?
My goodness, Jezebel, you're so rushed.
Have you got brown eyes? I hope you do.
You're the skin like David Bowie.
Oh yeah.
If these two superheroes had a fight, who's gonna win?
Me. Obviously me. Are you making it look 20?